Welcome back to Your Fantasy Nerd, where today we're going to be continuing our biggest whatever, but today is the biggest fallers in our rankings from late May, early June to now. And it's late July, if you must know. So, I'll start off. The number one guy for me is Mark Ingram, going from 20 to 26. The reason being, I didn't really dislike Ingram until maybe like mid-June. I saw him as kind of like, well, he had a great season last year, no doubt about it, but I think the thing with Ingram is that C.J. Spiller's there. I think C.J. Spiller really is going to take carries away. He's a tremendous athlete. Question is, does he stay on the field? We'll see, but I think that filling that Darren Sproles role, repeating it over again, I think Spiller really cuts into his carries and his catches. So I think while Ingram probably will get the goal line work, I think he substantially loses some yardage, maybe 800 to 900 yards, probably like 7 or 8 touchdowns, which isn't terrible, but definitely not RB2 value, so I would stay away from him as an RB2. I'd have him at 26.
My biggest faller is Joyke Bell. He went from 18 to 28. I think he's fallen this much because I think Amir Abdullah is going to steal the spotlight there at some point in the season. That means after week 1 or 2, I think it's going to happen. I don't trust Joyke Bell in that offense getting the carries. I think that Abdullah will get a lot of catches, and I think that he'll just produce so much that they're going to start giving him the carries and he'll show what he can do with his talent.
Yeah, I agree. I think Joyke Bell is definitely being overvalued. The next guy for me is actually someone who I was really high on coming into this, is Carlos Hyde, going from 9 to 15. He's kind of sitting in that range where everyone kind of has him at 15 or 16 or wherever. So I'm kind of jumping off a little bit here. I still think he's a really big sleeper. I think he's a breakout candidate. But the fear for me is that this whole San Francisco offensive line is in shambles right now. I mean, they have guys retiring, just leaving the team.
The whole team fell apart.
Yeah, and while they probably will be okay come season, I mean, Harbaugh's gone. You don't know how that's going to affect the team. And they really just, I hope they rely on Hyde because they really have no receiving threats out there. Bolden and Smith aren't going to cut it, I don't think so. I think Hyde is definitely not an RB1 anymore. He's not. You can't take him with clarity and hope that he's really going to fulfill that. So I think that at RB2 value, he's okay.
My second faller is Mark Ingram from 13 to 20, and for a lot of the same reasons. I actually don't think, I don't think he'll cut into the carries at all as big as people think they will. He'll get the goal line carries, but I don't think he'll get a ton of yards. I think he'll be the guy who's going to get the carries and only get like 68 yards and a touchdown, and that will be his week, which is still fine. But I had him probably in like the running back 1 range, sort of, and that one just completely blew over my head, and I don't like that anymore, so I have him at 20 now.
Yeah. The final guy at running back for me is Todd Gurley. With Todd Gurley, he came into the season with a lot of hype. He still has a lot of hype. It's just dependent on whether or not he plays. So he went from 16 to 21, dropping 5 spots. I think that he's definitely not the number 1 running back as a rookie. Not even number 2 anymore. I have Tevin Coleman slightly above him. I just think there's so many questions. That St. Louis offense is awful. It might be the worst offense in football, maybe bottom 5. But if Gurley can really come in there and just turn into a stud, then he's great. But I don't think he can do that this year. I think they're going to ease him into it a little bit.
My last faller from the running back position is Jonathan Stewart. I had him at 14, now he's at 19. Not a big jump, but I think that they're just going to be more pass-heavy, and I think Cam Newton's going to run the ball a little more. And they got Funchess, and now they got Benjamin, so I think they're going to throw the ball a ton more, and I think he's not going to get a lot of touchdowns because he's got 2 big red zone threats right there.
Yeah. Moving on to wide receiver, my definite biggest faller is Mike Wallace from 27 to 34, and reason being is that I didn't really look at that offense. I thought he would be the number 1 threat, and while he probably might be, I still think there's so many questions with Mike Wallace. He never really fits in anywhere. His best days are when he was in Pittsburgh, and obviously they let him go. Why would they? I don't know, maybe because of Antonio Brown, but he clearly has off-the-field problems. Not off-the-field problems, but on-the-field problems, actually. Just not being able to stay consistent. You never know what you're going to get from week to week, especially now moving from Miami to Minnesota. I don't love the Minnesota offense this year. It could be better with Peterson back, but I still think he'll digress a little bit, and that's why I have him at 34.
My biggest faller is Golden Tate from 17 to 30, a big thing. And this was, I had a lot of, I don't know where to place him right now, but I think 30 when I was going through it, 29 guys I thought would be better this year. And I think Calvin Johnson's going to have a huge year. And I think that Stafford he digressed last year. That offense was bad last year. And I think that they're going to get more to the running game more so than the passing game, because when you put the ball in Stafford's hand a lot, he's not the best decision maker. So I just think if they're going to throw the ball, they're going to look to Calvin Johnson more than Golden Tate for obvious reasons.
Yeah. The next guy for me is Alshon Jeffery, going from 6 to 10. That's a big jump for someone being that high, but the reason he's falling for me is because when I first heard the news that Brandon Marshall was leaving, I thought this would open up so many potential yards for Alshon Jeffery. And the thing with Jeffery, though, I don't know if he can do it. I don't know if he can fill that wide receiver 1 role. I've never really seen him do it. He's done it a couple times when Marshall's been out, but now with Kevin White and Eddie Royal, that Bears offense just isn't that good. With Jay Cutler, he's going to sling it around, throw some picks, maybe a touchdown or 2. But I just don't think Jeffery is as consistently in week to week. Definitely, I had him over guys like Dez Bryant, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham. That's completely false. So I'm moving him down to more of the T.Y. Hilton, A.J. Green range.
Number 2 is Deshaun Jackson from 15 to 24. And I think that they're going to have to run the ball to be successful. RG3, I don't think they have trust in RG3 as a team right now. And that team chemistry last year, you could see when RG3 got sacked, his offensive lineman didn't even help him up. It was a sad thing. Him punting the ball to himself. I just don't think that they have any trust in him. I think it's going to be like the Jets. They're going to run, because they don't have trust in their quarterback. And even if he starts throwing the ball well, his only big wide receiver is Deshaun Jackson. He's going to start getting double coverage. So I think that he's not going to have top 15 numbers.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then the final wide receiver for me is actually someone who I was super high on. Is now dropping slightly. Is Calvin Johnson, 1 to 4. Obviously not a huge jump, but my reason for this is actually, well, first off, I'd like to say that I got so much hate for having Calvin Johnson at number 1. Comments were thrown in that I was just, Antonio Brown is the clear number 1. Fine, he probably is, but I still think Calvin Johnson, I still think he's the most talented wide receiver in football at his age. I know there's guys like Dez Bryant coming up, Demaryius Thomas, but Calvin Johnson is so good. I mean, he's 30 years old, but that doesn't scare me at all. The reason he's dropping down to 4 is just the slight injury concern that whether or not he can stay on the field for all 16 games. I have 3 guys above him that just are always on the field, so that's the reason he's at 4.
Our last wide receiver is Kevin White from 23 to 28, and he should not be higher than Amari Cooper. I just thought about that. You can't really trust Jay Cutler, because I think that he's going to try to go to more of the proven wide receivers. He has great chemistry with Eddie Royal from Denver when they played together, and I think that Eddie Royal is a surprise guy that you should draft if he's there in the late rounds. But I don't think Kevin White's going to produce top 25 numbers right now, because I think Martellus Bennett is pretty consistent as a tight end. Jeffrey's a stud, and I think Royal's going to be surprised. So, and then you got Forte in the passing game too. So it's crowded in the wide receiver / running back / tight end position right now, catching the ball.
The final guy for me at quarterback is Matthew Stafford, going from 6 to 10. I still like him a lot because he's got just so many weapons. I mean, if you're gonna make Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate, in my opinion, they're both top 20 wide receivers. And Amir Abdullah could catch the ball. If I'm gonna have them so high, I kind of have to make Stafford a QB1. He's definitely someone who's going to throw you a lot of picks. He's going to be very inconsistent. He's got that sidearm wind-up throw, so you never know how that's going to pan out. But 6 was definitely too high. Guys like Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Cam Newton, guys, they've proved that they're better quarterbacks than him. So I've just dropped him down a little bit because of his consistency and being able to not throw as many picks.
I have Jay Cutler there, 14 and 19. A lot of the same reasons. He's not consistent. The interception, his decision making is terrible, and I think that they're going to have to run the ball a lot more. Getting Forte 6 carries in some games is a joke, and they're going to need to run the ball a lot more, because I think their defense will be better, and that will take a little pressure off of the offense, because when you're down that much, you're going to have to throw the ball and sling it all over the field. So I would look for Cutler's attempts throwing to go down.
That'll wrap it up for our biggest rises and our personal rankings. You can go ahead and subscribe to us at Your Fantasy Nerd. Like it, and comment as well. Tell us what you guys think. Do you guys agree, disagree? We'd love to see the comments. So thanks for watching, folks.